Ultra-realistic, cinematic wide shot of a breathtaking private island during golden sunset. In the center stands a modern luxury island villa, glass walls reflecting the orange glow of the sky, surrounded by lush palm trees and turquoise ocean waves gently hitting the shore. In the foreground, a confident man, the homeowner, stands tall on the wooden dock, dressed casually in a white shirt and jeans, holding a coffee mug, calm but defiant. Suddenly, chaos fills the scene. A furious group of HOA members storms onto the dock from small boats, waving clipboards and shouting angrily, their faces twisted with arrogance and rage. They wear polo shirts, khakis, and lanyards, clutching papers as if they were weapons. One woman, the Karen leader, points aggressively toward the house, her mouth open mid-yell, her expression entitled and furious. Beside her, a man in glasses furiously flips through a binder, while another waves his finger in David's face, trying to intimidate him. But towering above this chaos, from the skies and seas, reinforcements arrive. A military helicopter hovers overhead, its rotor blades chopping through the sunset sky, casting dramatic shadows across the island. Below, military speedboats slice through the waves, spraying water as they approach at high speed. On the beach, armed Marines in full tactical combat gear march ashore, boots sinking into the sand, rifles at the ready, their presence overwhelming and commanding authority. The lead Marine, a commander with a stern face and dark sunglasses, raises his hand in a commanding gesture, signaling the HOA to step back. The HOA members freeze in shock, clipboards slipping from their hands, faces pale with fear as the reality of the situation sinks in. The composition is dynamic and dramatic. On one side of the frame, the HOA storming in, chaotic and disorganized. On the other side, the disciplined, powerful Marines forming a protective line around the homeowner. The homeowner stands at the center, calm and composed, illuminated by the golden glow of the setting sun, symbolizing strength and justice. The helicopter above shines a spotlight onto the dock, highlighting the clash of authority and entitlement. The turquoise ocean sparkles in contrast to the intensity of the moment, adding realism and cinematic depth. In the distance, a flock of seagulls scatters into the sky, startled by the helicopter. The villa behind glows with warm light, symbolizing safety and ownership, a sanctuary worth protecting. Every detail is sharp. The texture of the wooden dock, the folds of the Marines' uniforms, the spray of the ocean mist, the fear in the HOA's eyes. Shot in 8K ultra-detail, hyper-realistic, dramatic lighting, action movie poster style, cinematic realism, high-contrast shadows and highlight. Ultra-realistic wide cinematic scene. A massive modern mansion dominates the background, glowing under the fiery orange and crimson hues of a dramatic sunset. The architecture is sleek and powerful, with tall glass windows reflecting the last light of the day, marble columns framing the wide staircase, and perfectly trimmed gardens flanking the stone courtyard. The mansion itself radiates strength, security, and wealth, a symbol of undeniable ownership. But in the foreground, chaos erupts. A furious mob of HOA members storms the open courtyard leading to the mansion's grand entrance. They are dressed casually in polos, khakis, sundresses, and sneakers, but their body language is exaggerated and hostile. At the very front, the infamous HOA Karen points her finger sharply toward the mansion, her mouth open mid-scream, hair whipping in the wind, her expression a mask of arrogance and fury. Next to her, a man waves a clipboard high above his head like a weapon, pages already fluttering loose. Another woman slams a binder against her palm, shouting as though her papers gave her authority. Behind them, more HOA members press forward, their faces red with anger, some holding rolled-up documents, others gesturing wildly as though their voices alone could overpower the rightful owner. Scattered paperwork flies through the air, pages ripped from binders and clipboards, caught by the wind, drifting across the courtyard like a chaotic storm of false authority. Some papers slap against the stone tiles, others spiral into the sky, their uselessness exposed under the blazing sunset light. But standing between this mob and the mansion is the unstoppable force of armed military soldiers. In perfect tactical formation, a squad of Marines spreads across the courtyard, boots pressed firmly into the stone, their presence unshakable. They wear full combat gear, helmets, armor, visors reflecting the fiery glow of the sky. Their rifles hang ready across their chests, but their discipline and silence are louder than the HOA's screams. The lead Marine commander steps forward, his arm raised in a commanding halt gesture. His face is calm, cold, and resolute, his mirrored sunglasses capturing both the mob's chaos and the glowing mansion behind him. The line of Marines behind him stands solid, an unbreakable wall of authority and order. Above, the roar of a military helicopter cuts through the noise. The chopper hovers low over the estate, its powerful spotlight blasting down onto the HOA mob, flooding their faces with harsh white light. Papers are torn from their hands and flung into the air by the helicopter's downdraft, hair whips violently, and dust rises in swirling clouds across the courtyard. The HOA members cover their eyes, stumble backward, their anger faltering into panic. Some try to hold their clipboards tighter, but the wind rips them free, scattering documents across the stone tiles like shredded evidence of their fake authority. Adding to the forceful display, military vehicles stand positioned on the driveway, armored jeeps with headlights cutting through the dust, soldiers standing beside them with authoritative stances. Their presence sends a clear message. This property isn't just defended, it's untouchable. At the center of it all, the homeowner stands proudly on the wide marble staircase of his mansion. His arms are crossed over his chest, his stance relaxed but powerful, a calm smile tugging at his lips. He wears simple clothes, jeans and a shirt, but his presence radiates confidence. He doesn't need to argue with the HOA, he doesn't need to shout. The mansion behind him, the Marines before him, and his own calm authority already tell the story. This is his property, and no one can take it from him. The composition tells the entire story through visuals. On the left, the HOA mob looks disorganized, loud, and desperate. Papers fly from their hands, their clothes whip in the downdraft, and their faces twist in anger and disbelief. Their fake authority collapses under the weight of the scene. On the right, the Marines stand disciplined and perfectly aligned, their uniforms gleaming, their rifles secured, their formation unbreakable. Calm, silent, and unstoppable, they embody true power. In the center, the homeowner becomes the focal point. Calm, proud, and victorious, framed by the glowing mansion behind him like a king standing before his fortress. His figure is bathed in the orange-gold rays of the sunset, making him appear heroic and untouchable. The atmosphere is thick with tension and cinematic drama. Dust swirls across the courtyard, illuminated by the helicopter spotlight. Long shadows stretch across the stone ground, amplifying the sense of scale and conflict. Palm trees lining the driveway bend in the wind from the helicopter's blades, their fronds whipping violently. The fiery sky overhead burns in brilliant reds, oranges, and purples, painting the scene like an epic action movie poster. Every detail is sharp and ultra-realistic. The sweat on the HOA's faces, the polished steel of Marine rifles, the tiny shreds of paper spiraling through the air, the reflection of fire in the mansion's glass walls. The emotional contrast is striking. The HOA, once arrogant, now looks small, weak, and desperate, their clipboards and binders useless. The Marines, calm and immovable, radiate strength without even needing to fire a shot. The homeowner, serene and confident, embodies victory without lifting a finger. The entire image feels like the climax of an epic action thriller blockbuster, a clash of fake authority against real power, arrogance crumbling under discipline, chaos silenced by strength. Shot in 8K hyperrealism, HDR cinematic lighting, ultra-detailed textures, dramatic movie poster composition. Epic ultra-realistic wide cinematic shot at golden sunset. A sprawling luxury estate dominates the background, standing tall and majestic at the end of a long stone-paved driveway. The mansion's design is modern yet commanding, with glass walls reflecting the fiery glow of the setting sun, marble columns supporting wide balconies, and elegant outdoor lighting casting warm highlights across the perfectly manicured lawn. The house itself feels like an untouchable fortress of wealth and power, glowing like a symbol of ownership. The atmosphere is charged with tension. A battle of arrogance versus true authority is about to unfold. In the foreground, a mob of furious HOA members storms across the open driveway toward the estate. Their clothing is casual, polos, khakis, button-up shirts, sundresses, but their posture and expressions are aggressive. At the very front, the infamous HOA Karen leads the charge, pointing her finger directly at the mansion, her mouth frozen mid-yell, her face twisted with anger and entitlement. Beside her, a man thrusts a clipboard forward as if it were a weapon, the papers already flapping loose in the wind. Another woman clutches a binder so tightly that papers are spilling out, scattering across the driveway. The crowd behind them surges forward, hands waving, mouths shouting, their arrogance radiating like a storm of false authority. Documents, notices, and papers fly wildly around them, whipped into the air by strong gusts, symbolizing the uselessness of their claims. But cutting through their chaos comes the unstoppable force of armed Marines. In sharp contrast to the disorganized mob, the Marines move with precision and discipline. A full squad in tactical gear has arrived, their formation spanning the width of the driveway. They wear helmets, armor, and visors that gleam in the golden light. Their rifles rest ready against their chests, their boots pressed firmly against the stone ground, every soldier a wall of unshakable authority. At the center, the Marine commander steps forward, raising his gloved hand in a commanding gesture of "Stop." His mirrored sunglasses reflect both the angry HOA mob and the glowing mansion behind him. His expression is calm but unyielding, the embodiment of power and order. Above the scene, a military helicopter hovers low, its blades slicing the air with thunderous force. The downdraft sends dust spiraling across the courtyard, palm fronds whipping wildly, and papers torn from HOA clipboards scattering into the air like confetti of defeat. The helicopter's spotlight blasts down onto the HOA members, exposing every detail of their faces, fear creeping into their expressions as the overwhelming power of the military crushes their arrogance. Some shield their eyes, some stumble back, their once proud stance broken under the roar of blades and flood of white light. On either side of the courtyard, military vehicles, armored jeeps and trucks, stand parked with engines humming, headlights glowing through the dusty air. Soldiers stand beside them in ready stances, reinforcing the idea that this is not a simple defense, but a full demonstration of dominance. The HOA mob, dwarfed by this overwhelming presence, looks suddenly small and powerless, their papers and clipboards useless against the steel, discipline, and might of the Marines. At the center of the mansion's grand marble staircase, the homeowner stands tall and calm. He is dressed simply in jeans and a shirt, but his posture radiates authority. His arms are crossed over his chest, and his expression is confident, almost amused. He doesn't shout, he doesn't argue, and he doesn't move. Behind him, the mansion glows warmly in the sunset, casting him in golden light, framing him as the rightful owner and victor. His calmness is a sharp contrast to the HOA's fury and the Marines' power. He is the quiet, central figure around whom the entire story revolves. The cinematic composition tells the story through contrast. On the left, the HOA mob is chaotic, messy, and desperate, their papers scattered, their hair and clothes whipped by the helicopter downdraft, their faces twisted with anger and fear. Their fake authority visually collapses. On the right, the Marines form a perfect, disciplined line, their armor gleaming, their weapons secured, their formation unbroken. Their silence is louder than the HOA's screams. In the center, the homeowner, calm and unbothered, stands framed by his glowing estate, the embodiment of true ownership and justice. The environment amplifies the drama. Long shadows stretch across the stone driveway, illuminated by the